I've created for you an ordered set of videos where I try to summarize the key points that I would like to make when I'm teaching thermodynamics class. And I've created, it's a set of videos for each chapter as we step through the course content. So let's have a look and see how I've organized it. And what I'd like to do is give you an overview of each chapter and also show you how to access a set of hyperlinks to get to any part of my videos that you'd like to see. So I'll welcome you to Jay's Toolbox YouTube channel. And so and then in particular, my set of chapter key points, I've created a playlist here over to the left. And so here's a link that you will not be able to access through the video. However, if you go to my Canvas site, and of course you would sign up to be part of the online tutoring group to get that access, you'll be able to access this static PowerPoint file. And then when you run this file, you can simply click on the hyperlinks and jump right to the video that you're most interested in. So that's going to be the idea. I'll step you through the content of all my videos here in this introductory video, and then you could go to the Canvas site to access the hyperlinks, or simply go to my chapter key points playlist. So go to Jay's Toolbox YouTube channel. You can find that, just Jay's Toolbox. You can find my chapter key points playlist, and then just go from there sequentially. My recommendation is that you simply work through them sequentially. So let's see what's in chapter 1. So in chapter 1, it says getting started, introductory concepts and definitions. And I've got 10 parts, 10 video parts that comprises that chapter, the key points that I'd like to make when I teach the class. So obviously I don't need to read the topics to you, but I'm going to spend long enough on this on this slide so that if there's a particular topic that you want to look at, rather than sequentially stepping through every single one, maybe you can make a little note to select which part you would like to look at. So for example, if you're a little confused, you're working on homework assigned out of chapter 1, maybe you need a little guidance on units. Gosh, I'm having a hard time getting pressure units straightened out. Conceivably, you could click on the pressure video, have a little look at that, talk about gauge pressure versus absolute pressure, and then maybe jump down to the working with units part. But you get the idea. So I think I've dwelled enough. Let's move on to chapter 2. Need to move my little picture here. So chapter 2 in the textbook covers energy, the concept of energy, and the first law of thermodynamics. Extraordinarily important chapter because it talks about conservation of energy, first law of thermodynamics, and helps you get started problem solving. And so you'll see that I've got 7 parts that make up the videos that I'd like to step you through as you work through chapter 2 and work on your homework problems in chapter 2, perhaps prepare for a quiz, prepare for a test. And so you can see if, oh gosh, you're totally confused and say, I don't understand what this first law of thermodynamics is all about, you could jump right to part 5 and look at first law of thermodynamics without going through each of the previous sections. Okay, I hope that gives you an idea of what's in chapter 2. Chapter 3 has to do with evaluating properties. So I can't lecture you here on what's a property, but by golly, if you go through chapters 1 and 2, you're going to get familiar with what is a property. And the hard part of this class is getting numerical values for certain properties of substances. And so you'll notice here in chapter 3, in this class, we deal with 2 basic categories of substances. One we call phase change substances, and that would be things like H2O, because you know good and well, H2O can exist as water right out of the tap, river water, lake water, or it can also be steam. H2O can be steam, or it can be ice. That's why we call it, those are three phases, aren't they? So we call them phase change substances. And you can sort of browse. If you're in chapter 3, you can browse these topics and click on one of those hyperlinks. And the other category of substances that we deal with in thermodynamics is ideal gases, things like air, nitrogen, carbon dioxide. And so you get the idea, and you can browse through that. And I see that I have 10 parts, 10 videos where I try to summarize the content that's most important to me in chapter 3. In chapter 4, I've got 12 parts, and chapter 4 deals with what we call open systems. And it does turn out that an open system is one where we have flow into and out of a piece of equipment. And the way I've arranged this is in the early part of chapter 4 in the textbook, you cover conservation of mass, what's called the continuity equation. And once you get through the conservation of mass concepts, we define the first law for open systems. In other words, systems that are representative of many pieces of engineering, technical equipment designed to accomplish specific tasks. And you're going to get very good at analyzing the first law for various open systems. And so you can see in the last sections of my videos, I've picked off specific applications or pieces of equipment that you need to get pretty familiar with as a mechanical engineer. And so I've just created some videos to give you an example of, well, what does a turbine look like? What does a compressor look like? Pumps, what does a pump do? And what does a pump look like? You get the idea. And so remember, if you can access this static presentation, you can click on any of these hyperlinks and jump right to the topic you're interested in. Chapter 5, very difficult chapter, and you can see that I've jammed it into 13 parts, and I've jammed those 13 parts onto one slide. And so a lot of students realistically struggle in chapter 5 because we address the second law of thermodynamics. And the second law of thermodynamics does a lot of talking about what kind of things are possible and what kind of things are impossible. And you're going to get familiar with dealing with those and quantifying things that are possible and impossible. Let me move my picture down here a bit. Okay. And so I've tried to think about what are the basic blocks of chapter 5. The first block of chapter 5 has to do with defining what is entropy in the first place. Entropy is a property that you may not be real familiar with, but you will be getting familiar with. After you get a feel for what is entropy, we introduce the second law of thermodynamics. It can be a difficult concept. And then a good proportion of chapter 5 deals with systems operating in a cycle, such as power plants, such as your refrigerator in the kitchen, a heat pump that you may have to be using to heat your house in the wintertime. But you get the idea. So I don't want to blaze through this because the word count on this slide is very high. There's 13 things to select from. And so it's my hope that maybe I have spent enough time vamping here so that if you're interested in a specific topic to get caught up on or to learn a little bit more about, you could scratch down which part of chapter 5 video you'd like to link to or go select just from my playlist. Hope that helps. Now, part 6 is entitled Using Entropy. And there's a lot of material in chapter 6. And so you see on my slide, I've identified, I have to divide chapter 6 into 2 whole slides. And the other thing you see is that at least as of today, as of today, I've only posted one single video for Chapter 6, which is the roadmap, the introduction, and I've got some presentations prepared to go, but I haven't created the videos yet. So there's no hyperlinks for the subsequent parts of Part 6, so Chapter 6. What I'm hoping for is that you'll send me some feedback on, are these videos doing you any good? If they're not, I'll probably stop at Chapter 6. If they're doing you some good, I'm going to continue on to try to finish out the rest of the course with these videos. So I would ask, if you are watching this video, if these videos are helping you, please send me some written feedback to let me know that these are doing you some good, and that'll inspire me to continue on and keep creating these videos. Okay, so again, I have not been able to figure out how to link specific hyperlinks into a YouTube video, so I'll just have to apologize that you can't just point and shoot on the video, but the way to get to that static presentation that has the hyperlinks in it, go to my Canvas site, my Jay's Toolbox Canvas site, and you'll be able to access that particular file, and then you can go to town linking. Okay, hope that helps, and I hope you'll be energized to start stepping through these chapter key points on my playlist.